The World Cup of 2026 keeps on getting better and better and better. The round of 16 is over with so much drama, it's quite hard to comprehend. And we're reaching the business end of the tournament with the quarterfinals starting on Thursday when France meet Morocco. Welcome to the Real Football USA. My name is Simon. We're going to be talking about the 5 main talking points from the round of 16 in the World Cup. And at the end of the video, we'll be previewing the quarterfinals and the last few games of this World Cup. I can't believe how quickly it's gone. It's absolutely amazing. The best World Cup in my lifetime by far. If you enjoy the Real Football USA, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. I talk about football from all over the world here on this channel, based for our US audience, but from all our global audience as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Where do we start in terms of the round of 16? I think there's only one place to start, and that is Erling Haaland and Norway, knocking out the most successful World Cup team in history and one of the favourites for this tournament here in North America in 2026 Brazil. The one-man show that is Erling Haaland, with 2 goals late on in the second half, knocking Brazil out. Carlo Ancelotti and the Brazilian team were a lot of people's favourites to go really far in this tournament. But Norway, who haven't qualified for the World Cup for a very long time, have sprung a lot of people by surprise. But when you've got Erling Haaland playing like he is, there's definitely a big chance that Norway could go all the way in this tournament. Haaland is arguably one of the greatest strikers in the world, if not the best at the moment. And he just took Brazil to the sword. It was absolutely amazing to watch. I think the Brazilian fans were completely stunned. But if you've been paying attention to European football for a long time now, Erling Haaland is an absolute monster. That first goal that he scored, the towering header, just leapt over Gabriel in the Brazilian defence when they've got a historic rivalry as well. It was just a superb piece of attacking play and Brazil were completely stunned. And then he got his second goal just minutes afterwards. Couldn't be any more different, the kind of goal, but what a goal it was with that left-footed strike smashing it into the corner. Brazil got a late consolation penalty, Neymar coming on to take the penalty. The stat pad his World Cup career. But my goodness, Brazil really left some stuff on the table in this tournament. I thought they were far from convincing for all of it. They really didn't have the flair that has won them World Cups previously, and they left out some amazing players from this squad to bring back passengers like Neymar, who hardly played in the tournament, leaving out players like João Pedro for Chelsea. Completely unacceptable if you're a Brazilian fan. This is such a letdown, and Carlo Ancelotti might be regretting some of his team selections. Talking point number 2 goes to my team, England, pulling off an absolutely staggering win in the Azteca in Mexico City against Mexico with their first loss at home in 13 years. Truly one of the most unbelievable football matches you've ever seen. Staggering from England. Mexico played their part as well. It was an incredible game from start to finish. The atmosphere, the altitude was all talked about before, but my goodness, I don't think anyone was talking about that. My goodness, I don't think anyone was talking about the altitude afterwards. All they were talking about was the electric atmosphere and a truly great game of football. One of the greatest games in World Cup history, you have to say. Mexico started really brightly, but then Jude Bellingham scoring 2 goals in 90 seconds to stun the Mexican crowd. But Mexico fought back brilliantly. And the atmosphere, when they got that goal back, was truly something I would never forget. England somehow made it into half-time, still winning the game. But shortly after the second half started, Jarell Quansah from England was sent off for a reckless tackle. I think it was a fair decision in the end. But as an England fan, I thought the worst was going to happen. There's so much history of heartbreak in the World Cups, especially for the England football team. But soon after the red card, Anthony Gordon was through on goal and Harry Kane dispatched the penalty brilliantly. It was too much of a mountain for Mexico to climb, even with the man advantage. Harry Kane recklessly gave away a penalty shortly after, so it was 3-2. But Thomas Tuchel earned his money as England manager, made some brave substitutions. England were down to 10 men for nearly 40 minutes in the second half. But some of the most resolute defending you've ever seen, pulled off one of the most famous victories in English football history. And can this England team go all the way now? With results like that, I'm starting to believe. Talking point number 3, Cristiano Ronaldo leaves the World Cup potentially for the last time as Spain beat Portugal 1-0. In truth, it was a pretty poor game. I think this was built to be the tie of the round, but I think it was one of the most disappointing. But the main storyline has to be Portugal crashing out of the World Cup before the quarterfinals. And you have to say this is a big surprise on paper because Portugal's squad is truly immense. and they should have done way better. But there were two main weaknesses for Portugal in this World Cup. The first one, the coach, Roberto Martinez, wasting another golden generation. He was previously the manager of Belgium when they had the greatest ever squad. His resume as a manager is so poor. I do not understand why Portugal decided to give their faith into a coach who's not even Belgian and has got no track record. But the main reason why Roberto Martinez failed was because he picked the 41-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, and he basically played every minute of the tournament. Cristiano Ronaldo is arguably the second or third best player in football history, but he hasn't been at the same level for about 5 or 6 years, and accommodating him and enabling him has made Portugal a weaker force than they could have been. Honestly, really look on paper, their squad is that good, but Cristiano Ronaldo are not the same strength as he was previously. It was like playing with 10 men, and Spain would just pick their moment, and a brilliant goal by Mikel Merino ended it for Portugal and sent Spain through, who are looking much stronger. Talking point number 4 has to be the USA crashing out of the World Cup against Belgium 4-1. There's so much to unpack here. Obviously, the political situation and the situation with FIFA involving Balogun and removing his ban from this game took all the headlines. But I want to focus on the football. I think there's been so much noise about everything else regarding this situation. But in truth, the US team did not show up in this game, and it's such a disappointment. I live in America and I've got so many US friends who were really hopeful for the US to finally beat one of the big teams in the World Cup, especially given the nature of the first few performances. Against Paraguay in particular, the US were electric, but they did not show up. I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was mental attitude considering the situation with Balogun. They were just petrified of playing such a good opposition on the day. And let's face it, Belgium have some great players, and they put on a masterclass against the US team, who looked so lackluster. They looked devoid of any energy whatsoever. So many disappointing performances from the US team. In particular, Christian Pulisic was poor. Weston McKennie not nearly as good as he was in the tournament previously. I felt a bit bad for Tillman and Anthony Robinson because they were carrying that team. They got back in it after an early goal, but just 90 seconds later, Belgium just waltzed through the defence. And then the third goal was one of the most calamitous things you've ever seen. I think there's been a lot of attention on Balogun, but I think some of the attention needs to go to Maurizio Pochettino as well. I don't know what he said to these players before this game, but they were not up for it. And if I was a US fan, I'd be furious at how you left the tournament. This is probably going to be the last time in a very long time you're going to host this tournament, and the home field advantage is such a big advantage, and I feel these players let the fans down and wasted a good opportunity. And talking point number 5 has to be Argentina versus Egypt. Again, one of the most remarkable games of football you've ever seen. Egypt were 2-0 up, but they should have been 3-0 up. Should have been 3-0 up. They had a perfectly good goal chalked off. And then Messi and Argentina just fought back. You have to admire their attitude. Messi was poor. He missed a penalty in the first half, but fought back with the Argentinian team. Romero with the first goal. Messi equalising. Truly one of the most incredible reactions to a goal that I've ever seen. A man who's so usually devoid of emotion became the most emotional person I've ever seen on a football field. And then Enzo Fernandez with the last second header to win it for Argentina to send them through. And I think there's a lot of conspiracies going on here, but you have to look at the cold hard facts. I think FIFA are willing Argentina to get further in this tournament. Lionel Messi plays in the US now. He's obviously a huge draw for the US audience, especially for the World Cup, but also for the MLS as well. And I just feel they're getting such a good run on the decisions from the referee. Egypt should feel really hard done by from what they experienced in Atlanta against Argentina, because I really think Egypt were the better team for most of it. Argentina just showed up for the last 15 minutes. But you just have to say this Messi team in Argentina look inevitable. He's the greatest player of all time. They do not need this help from FIFA officials. But my goodness, this is all setting up for a last great round of games for the last quarterfinals, semi-finals and finals. And here's the preview of the quarterfinals that start on Thursday. France versus Morocco, a replay of the semi-final from 2022. Morocco have looked much better in this tournament. They look like a grizzled veteran World Cup team, and I think it's going to be hard for the French. But I can't see anything but a French victory in this. France's attacking line in particular is just the best I think I've ever seen in a World Cup. Not just the starters, but the substitutes as well. And Kylian Mbappe is on fire for France. And I fear for Morocco, but they do have a chance. All the officials are from Argentina, and everyone knows the history now between Argentina and France stemming back from the last 2022 World Cup. I think there's going to be some shenanigans going on here, and I hope it doesn't ruin the game. But if everything's fair, I predict that France are going to win. Next game is Belgium versus Spain. Obviously, Belgium coming off that convincing victory against the USA, and Spain beating Portugal, one of their local rivals. This one I think is going to be a lot tighter than people expect. But I do fancy Spain to come out on top. I think the Belgium had too much of the USA, but Spain's midfield in particular just hold the ball so well. I think it'll be a tight game. I think it'll be a close finish, but I think Spain are going to win this one. And then the first game on Saturday afternoon US time, England versus Norway in Miami. A truly massive game with two of the best strikers in the world playing. Harry Kane for England and Erling Haaland for Norway. I think this is going to be so close. But I do think England are going to come out on top on this one. Two amazing victories for both of these teams in the round of 16. Two very different victories. But the victory against Mexico for England, that is something special that you see winners of these tournaments make earlier on in the tournament. To beat the hosts in the way that they did, I just think there's a drive in this England team. And I think spearheaded by Thomas Tuchel, Harry Kane and also Jude Bellingham is going to be one of the players of this tournament. He is the modern version of Zidane in my eyes. Absolutely spectacular. And I just think England will have too much for Norway, but I think it's going to be close. And then to the last game on Saturday, Argentina versus Switzerland. Argentina have been really poor in this tournament, but they've got through in the really important moments. But they've had a very easy run of it so far. I think Switzerland is going to be a tough opposition for them. But again, I just think Argentina and Messi and probably the officials is going to have too much for this Swiss team. Switzerland is so underrated. They perform well in every single tournament. But I just think the superstar power of Argentina is going to shine through. But again, I think all these games are going to be close. But I think Argentina are going to win. And it's going to set up a massive semi-final against England in Atlanta. I hope you enjoyed this video on the review of the round of 16 and a preview of the quarterfinals. Let me know in the comments your predictions for the quarterfinals and your moments of the round of 16, a truly memorable World Cup. And I'll be back with a new video after the quarterfinals and previewing the semi-finals, or really at the business end of this tournament. I'm going to be talking lots more about the World Cup and wider football topics later on in this YouTube channel. But if you enjoyed the video, please make sure you're hitting the like and subscribe. And thanks so much for tuning in. And come on, England!